Wakelet Podcast is back. Thank you very much for tuning in today. We are back with the Journeys That We Are On mini-series of the Wakelet Podcast. My name is Michael, delighted to be hosting again. This mini-series takes a look and a deep dive into the professional development and the inspiring stories of some people, including Leon Lloyd, Grace Vela, and today we have a very, very special guest, Tisha Poncio. How are you today? It's great to have you.
Thank you, Michael. I can't believe I'm really here.
It's great. Yeah, I know. I feel like it's been a long time coming. I think we've been preparing this podcast for a long time, but how is it going so far? You in Manchester for around 24 hours as of now?
Yes, I have been. It's going great. The city is beautiful. The people are better.
Love it, love it. Well, it's really great to have you, and I think you've had a very big impact on the Wakelet culture. Even though you've been working for Wakelet on the other side of the world, somehow your personality has just spread magically throughout the Wakelet team, and the impact you've had on the culture has been massive. So to have you here is something that we've been waiting for a really long time, and it's great. Is it what you expected when you first walked into the Wakelet office?
Well, I didn't expect such an incredible welcome. The decor was incredible. American flags everywhere. Specific USA logo made by our amazing graphic designers, Ella and Sam. Yeah, it's been incredible. I think what I love the most is that all of you are real live people, not just little squares on my computer screen now.
We are real people, but very exciting to have you here. And for anybody who hasn't seen the Journeys That We're On mini-series of the Wakelet Podcast, we just want to get a bit of an insight into how you got started and the kind of journey that you've had, what your ethos is, what your attitude is to kind of wanting to achieve and to set goals for yourself and to make progress personally and professionally. So I'd like to do a bit of a deep dive.
Sure.
Just want to get started by asking, why did you become a teacher in the first place? What was it that really made you think, I want to build a career around teaching?
Well, I had a teacher that, it seems really overdramatic, but a teacher that saved me. And that's the truth. I was not a confident student. I was not the valedictorian of my class.
Right.
I struggled in many of my classes. And it was also truly struggling at home. My home life was not ideal. And so school, for a lot of students that we know now, school was my only safe haven. Mm-hmm. So I would go to school and throw myself into all sorts of extracurricular activities, but did not feel confident academically until I had an English teacher in the 9th grade who saw something in me that nobody else saw. I didn't even see it in myself. Mm-hmm. And she gave me this confidence about my academic abilities, but also my public speaking abilities. Okay. And she gave us an assignment, and we had to research a famous person. And I chose Lena Horne, not knowing anything about Lena Horne. Mm-hmm. And then we had to do a speech in front of the class, and she made it into a contest. And of course, I really wasn't doing it for the contest, but the class voted on the best speeches, and my class voted for me.
Wow.
And I was so taken aback because I thought, why would you vote for me? But that was really the moment, I think, that gave me the confidence in what I was doing. I ended up with the English 1 award for my whole high school that year.
Wow.
And it really was because of this teacher, Miss Elam. I see her periodically when I go back home, mm-hmm. and I always thank her for that moment. Of course, she does not believe that she was a catalyst, but the truth is she really was. And because of what she gave to me, I decided I want to pay that forward.
Yeah.
For other students. And so I also had a math teacher that was very encouraging. I was not a great math student, but he encouraged me to pursue education. And so I actually went to his university for the education program. Mm-hmm. And that is how I became a teacher. I really just wanted to give back to those students that needed that safe place, and not necessarily to save them, but more so to inspire them.
Yeah, it seems like empowerment is quite a core part of what you do. And
absolutely.
I mean, it seems like it's a core part of your teaching, but I think in Wakelet as well, you're very much one of the a very empowering person for the team and for colleagues as well. So that's cool. I like that. And I think, of course, we speak to a lot of teachers at Wakelet, and it's interesting to kind of understand why, but it's also always very inspiring to hear that it's often for the student, wanting to elevate student voice.
Yeah, I think that is what you'll find when teachers have had a rough time the last 18 months, and it is some days very difficult to go to the core of why you started, right? But we have to remember that. And the truth is, I set out probably in my 5th year of teaching. They tell you to choose a word for the year, and I chose empowering. And I decided that empowering other people around me, no matter what we were doing, whether it was teaching or Wakelet or parenting or relationships, I want to empower people around me to see that there is hope, to see that there's better days ahead, right? To see that they are capable truly of anything. Yeah. And I really am proof of that. And I hope that as I'm walking around, working with educators, working with other people, that they see that. I'm proof. I was not perfect. I didn't start off with a perfect journey. I went through some struggles, but you can overcome all of that. And so that's what I hope I inspire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you mentioned the last 18 months having been difficult for everybody in a number of different ways. What kind of mentality do you think, or would you want to share with people, teachers, but just anybody, I guess? What kind of mentality do you think equips you with this toolkit to overcome challenges, especially the ones that we've faced in the last 2 years?
Well, I will go back to something that I've believed for a very long time, and that is to surround yourself with people who are going to build you up.
Yep.
And so if you are not in that friend group circle where they're building you up and celebrating you, you may need a new circle, right?
Yeah.
If you are surrounded at a school by just a lot of negativity, you have to find the gratitude in some way. And that may mean going out and making a couple of new friends that are lifting you up, spending some time with them. I think it's so important. And I told my students this, I tell my own children this. If you tell me the 5 people that you hang out with the most, I know exactly what you're about.
Yeah.
So I think that's really the key, is the relationships that you build. Either they're going to bring you down, even more down than you may be, or they're going to build you up.
Yeah, and it is difficult to kind of have that self-awareness and perspective. And I do definitely agree. And the analogy of the 5 people that surround you, you're often a reflection of them. But it's often difficult to have that self-awareness. So you do need to kind of take a check-in and to say, okay, are the people that I'm surrounding myself a good influence? And are they pushing me to grow and elevating me?
Absolutely.
So I think that's a really good piece of advice. Anything else in terms of mentality?
I would just say that in that group of people, you want to have, a couple of friends that you're mentoring. I have a couple of educators, shout out to all of you, you know who you are, that I'm mentoring, helping them along the way, whether it's to get in ed tech and really just build their portfolio maybe. But you want to have 2 people that you're mentoring. You probably want to have 1 or 2 people that are mentoring you. And then you want to have an accountability friend, right? Somebody that you can check in with that maybe is on the same level or the same path that you're on, that can just encourage you and understand maybe some of those struggles.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that leads nicely into the topic of role models and leadership.
Yes.
Who would you say your role model is?
Well, so I was adopted. I don't know that many people know that. I was adopted when I was 3 days old. And my dad will be and always has been my role model, but he never came out and said, Tisha, this is what you need to do, and this is who you need to be. It was more so I was watching him just in his day-to-day life, how he interacted with people, how he pushed himself to be better and do better and learn more, right? And he was always very self-aware and checking in with himself. He had a very tumultuous life as well. He struggled. He did not go to college. He did not have a college degree, but he built an incredible business from the ground up.
Wow.
And I think watching his work ethic really is what gives me that work ethic. So when he came upon struggles, he did not let that stop him. And I saw him go through that, owning your own business, whatever it is, you're going to come against so much pushback. And he just kept persevering, right? And he just kept doing it. And so I think that's where that tenacity for me comes from. If I don't master something right away, instead of just like being defeated, I just keep
going
at it.
Absolutely. I really like that. And I think in terms of a drive, I think tenacity is a really interesting one. Relentlessness, is that something that just like keep going, don't stop, even if there are challenges and if there are mistakes made or whatever it is, when you're on the journey to try and achieve what you want to achieve. And we can touch on manifestation a little bit here. If you have a clear image of where you want to get to, and if you go off the track or if you get knocked down, it's just continuing and being relentless.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's what we really need to model for our students, for our own children, for our friend groups. We need to remember that it's in the failure that we really become successful. And if we can embrace that thought, nothing is impossible.
Absolutely. I can't remember who said it. I think it might have been Matthew Said. He said, don't communicate confidence as a valuable trait. Communicate perseverance and resilience, I should say, as a valuable trait. Does that resonate? Do you think that makes sense?
Absolutely. I think resilience is something that we, again, need to teach our students. I try to teach that in my own children. Being resilient no matter what's coming at you, whether it be words or situations or, disappointments or struggles in the education system. I think the resilience is, and if you find that you can't be resilient in that situation, maybe that's an indication that you need to slightly adjust your path, right? Yes. Just adjusting your path 1 degree puts you on a whole different future.
I really like that. And I think it is kind of, again, the self-awareness. But if you are kind of coming up against challenges, wherever the challenges are coming from, if there's something not quite clicking and it's something that's getting in your way, just shift a little bit and just open things up. And that gives you the space to just plow forward.
Absolutely.
I know this comes across as being maybe a bit aggressive, but
it does. But once it becomes a little bit easier, just that 1 degree of movement, sometimes it doesn't take a ton of resistance then to try to get where you're going. Yeah. You have the tailwinds, if you will, on a plane.
Exactly. And if you have the right people around you, that'll continue pushing you forward. I mean, I know it's kind of making it sound quite simple in terms of like achieving your goals. It's tough.
Oh, it's hard.
And I think especially with a pandemic and with other challenges and the limited resources that are, challenging people in education, especially, it's easier said than done. But I think if you have that attitude of knowing why you are in it and what you want to achieve personally and for those around you, I think, I think it's good, really powerful to remind yourself of this kind of mentality and of this kind of approach.
Yeah, I think it's important, Michael, for people. If you don't have a vision or a vision board, I say this a lot to my students. I've said it to my own family. But what's interesting is only 1% of the people I tell this to really do it.
Okay, what is it?
Well, I can have a vision for my life, right? But if I'm not writing it down and I'm not actually making a vision board to see it every day, I'm losing that vision 100%. When those struggles come across. So my advice to everybody, and some of those people that I'm mentoring, I've said, write it down. You need to write it down. You need to write it down and put it everywhere. You need to surround yourself with that vision so that you do not lose that course, because any little thing will blow you off course if you let it.
Absolutely. So it is kind of a constant reminder and being proactive with the reminders as well. And you mentioned there was an audio recording that you listened to and you got up this morning. Can you say a bit more about that?
I do. Well, the first thing I want to say is waking up in Manchester, opening my hotel room windows, seeing the sun, right?
It's a rare occasion in
Here
Manchester.
Comes the sun. Tisha Pontio is in Manchester. And I told the team that I would bring the sun. And so I woke up, I played Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles.
Great
and
choice.
Then I listened to my affirmations. I have some audio recordings that I listen to every morning. I remember reading leadership books and listening to leadership podcasts, and they all say this. Again, there's only 1% of the group of people listening that are going to do it. So I thought, you know what? It can't hurt. So I started doing it years ago. This morning, I listened to an affirmation, and it starts off, today's a good day.
Yeah.
And if you can start off with that mentality, today's a good day, even those things that come at me that aren't aligned with me, if you can just think of it as a growing experience or something that you need to learn, right? Because we need to always be learning. If we stop learning,
I agree with that.
We are done.
Yeah.
You know, you need to always keep learning. So I think life isn't necessarily a destination. It's just learning and learning and learning and learning. And again, I get that from my dad. He never stopped learning, even when he was, retired from his job. He went and learned how to be a security officer in a casino, right? So that I'm sure he never thought he would do that, but he just kept learning. And that was really the drive for him. It's the drive for me to never stop learning.
Yeah, that's cool. And just in terms of like a trajectory and ending up in different roles, seemingly like your dad did. Of course, you started out as a high school teacher, teaching business. Then you moved on to being a tech coach. And of course, now you're working at Wakelet and sharing the Wakelet wave with educators and schools in America. Do you ever stop and think this is a bit of, well, it's certainly a unique trajectory, a unique journey. Does it surprise you?
No. And I'll tell you why. Because what a lot of people don't know is in 2018, I went and started my master's degree at 40 something, right?
Awesome.
Which is not it was on my list of goals to go back and get my master's. But I wasn't sure that I would actually achieve that. But I found myself in a master's program, was accepted, got some scholarships, thought, okay, well, I guess this is my 1% of movement. And while I was in that program in 2018, I was learning things and I realized it was during that program, that coursework, that I thought, I'm always a teacher. I always will be a teacher. I always have been a teacher. But maybe that will look different. And that was really when I had a spark and thought, you know what, moving into the ed tech space, I think that's for me. I think that's what I want to do. And so I really started working towards that in 2017 and 18. So a lot of people don't know that was kind of in the back of my head. I was thinking about it. I was writing it down. I was thinking, what do I need to do to get to that point? How do I need to adjust the course? What do I need to learn? And so no, it doesn't surprise me, because like everything else, once I had that spark, I really just focused on what needs to be done to move myself to that point. But of course, it is really cool to be at the Wakelet headquarters. Like, I think sometimes I feel like I'm in a dream that you're right here on the same couch with me.
Awesome. Well, I think you are a living proof that visualization and manifestation works.
Yeah.
And it is no surprise to me at all to hear you say that you've been working towards this for years. And I think something that I've tried to apply to my life is, if you want to achieve something and if there's a goal that you have, it's really visualize it. And I like the writing down
Absolutely.
concept. I'm going to have to start doing that.
I have sticky notes, Michael, in my car. I have them on my mirror. I record the sticky notes on a voice recording. With myself, talking to myself.
Great.
But whatever it takes, right? I mean, that may not work for some people, but that's what works for me. And you just have to find what's going to work for you in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to jump into some quick fire questions.
Ooh, I love quick fire questions.
First one being, what does a typical day look like for you?
Okay, so a typical day, we're just going to assume that it's a work day, and I'm back in Texas. And so I get up and work out. I always joke that I don't work out necessarily to have like the best body, Michael, but as I get older, I just want to move.
Sure.
Right. So I work out, so I will continue to move. And so I do that. I have breakfast. I'm really boring with breakfast. I every day have a hard-boiled egg in the morning, and that's it.
Any toast or?
No toast.
Cup of tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Okay.
Coffee typically. It isn't like Marcus Brooks coffee.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
But you know, I try. I have a French press. So I eat my breakfast, and then I get on my computer and I start working and meet with educators, meet with the team, do a lot of phone calls, do some podcasts,
Awesome.
do some webinars, and do a lot of conferences, virtually, in person. So it's a lot of planning. working with leaders and emailing leaders and talking with leaders of school districts, specifically in Texas. I mean, that's kind of my home base. So I really connect with people in Texas. But so I have to schedule lunch, because if I don't, I will work through lunch.
Sure.
And then I also schedule some breaks so that I'll go for walks, because working from home, I will tell you, a lot of times I won't stop. And I did watch my dad do that. And so I learned from him a little bit to set alarms. So I have alarms for myself. So I will get up and like take a break and then come back to it.
Idea. I certainly was guilty of kind of not knowing when to stop working when I was working remotely. It's not an easy thing.
It's not. I also just schedule family time specifically. So that's one of the things I did learn from my dad. It's really intriguing. He worked hard, but he also played hard. And so he would work nonstop all the time, but he also would schedule in intentional times for us to go snow skiing or water skiing or go on a vacation. And so I've tried to be very strategic and do that with my own kids as well.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, really like that. And we mentioned about learning. What's something that you've learned recently, something new?
Something new that I've learned. Well, so I haven't officially met Edgar yet, but I've learned a lot from Edgar. What is his official title here at Wakelet?
He's a growth manager lead. He does a lot of paid activities and strategies.
Lots of social media. So I learned a lot from Edgar, and I actually just learned more about digital marketing. So I got a foundations in digital marketing certification.
Wow. Congrats, that's very cool.
Which was really fun to learn. But again, it ties into my degree, right?
Yeah,
my master's degree in learning technologies. We learned a little bit about that, but of course I dove a little bit deeper. So I know that's also what you do. I love talking numbers with you on social.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. Our social media efforts complement each other. Yeah, you're on the ground. Tisha Poncio Twitter profile is a powerful one. Goes very well with the Wakelet profile. So it's certainly a pleasure to work with you in that regard. I know we mentioned learning and the value of learning and how it's a continual process. I think for me during lockdown, something that I really enjoyed was discovering how powerful learning can be. Because I think obviously I was in education until the age of like 21. Right. And then afterwards, I was like, okay, I'm done with education. I'm ready for going into the world. I don't need to learn anything else. You know, I got on a job. It's all good. I think during lockdown, I was like, actually, learning was actually a really rewarding process. Yeah. I kind of got hungry for it.
Yeah.
I tried to learn the guitar.
Ooh.
Didn't go very well, I'll admit.
I play the piano.
You do?
I wish you would learn the guitar, and then maybe we can connect up and do some jams.
Yeah, that's what I needed. I needed a jamming partner. I was playing guitar alone, and like, oh no, I need a pianist.
Yes.
I also tried to learn some German.
Ooh.
And I also read a bunch of books, listened to a bunch of podcasts.
Yes.
And yeah, I think just discovering the art of learning,
absolutely,
it's a really valuable thing. So
it's an art. You're right. The art of learning. You have to learn how you learn best, and a lot of times in school, you're told how you learn best, but it may not align with truly how you learn best. So I think that once it clicked for me, like how I learn best, podcasts. I love audio. I'm great at reading. I have an English degree as well, but learning how you learn and relearning how you learn. I think that is a quote. It's a quotable.
I like that. Yeah, really powerful. So you have a few more days in Manchester.
Yes.
It's very brief. I realize now that it's not long enough a time to really spend a lot of time with you and the American team of Wakelet. But what do you expect from the next few days? What do you want to take from the experience of being here?
I want to take learning all I can from everybody on the team. I think that's what's incredible about the Wakelet team is everybody is, I call all of you geniuses, and you all just chuckle at me and say, no, we aren't. But the truth is you all are geniuses in your own little regard. And when you bring all of that together, it's so powerful. So I, of course, want to learn more about what you do. I always learn from Marcus. We always talk media and microphones and equipment and taking great video. I sat down with Mispa and have learned from him just some things that he does. I just want to learn and soak it all in, but I also want to go have some good food too.
Yes, absolutely. Manchester offers some really good places.
It's been great so far. Yeah. I had some baked beans for breakfast.
Is baked beans a thing in the States?
No.
No.
It is not.
Did it go down well?
It was great. The breakfast was incredible. The food here is really good. Yes.
Great. Well, I know that we're all going out for a meal later, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, me
just
too.
Sitting down and just having conversations, I think it's great. And I totally agree. But the thing that I enjoy most about working at Wakelet is working with the people. And there's so many different skill sets, so many different geniuses. I totally agree with that. You can learn so much from different people and different backgrounds, different perspectives. So,
you know what else I love, Michael, is the brainstorming sessions that happen here. It's so intriguing. The way that this company works is really how I tried to structure my own classroom, because I think so many successful things come from just sitting down and brainstorming and hashing some things out and talking with, on a whiteboard. I love that. I happened upon one of those conversations yesterday, and I ended up on the couch and we came up with an incredible idea, right?
Yeah. Okay. Can you give a bit of an insight into the idea?
Well, Elle and Sam, the geniuses that they are, we're just trying to strategically learn how to, make our branding better and make our social media presence better. And I think we're coming up with some strategies for that to really just tell our Wakelet story.
Yeah. It's exciting, some exciting times ahead.
Yeah.
Something that crossed my mind then, and you made a comparison between, in the classroom and also in Wakelet. Are there many similarities, would you say?
Well, in all of my classrooms, not just my student leadership classroom, but in all of my classrooms, I tried to give my students jobs, responsibilities, so that they would learn that leadership and learn how to kind of lead themselves. I think it's intriguing because, like I said, we all have our little niche that we are experts in. So I tried to really bring that out of them so that they would work well as teams. Yeah. And I think this environment models what I wanted to happen in my classroom. Everybody doing a little bit of something different, but then when we all come together as a whole group,
everyone's empowered as individuals and as a collective.
Exactly.
I really like that, and that's something that we have spoken about on this podcast with both Leon and Grace. It's getting the best out of people and tailoring how you interact with people, and I think that's really sophisticated leadership. But if you're able to do that, and I'd certainly get the impression that you're very good at it, is empowering people based on their personalities and not just like speaking to a crowd and kind of hoping to get a reaction like that. It's very much a case of being personable with people, and then, as you mentioned, a collective, and the team then is all the more powerful.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, Tish, I know that we could speak all day, but we better wrap up because I know you have a very busy schedule ahead of you today. Everyone wants a piece of you. But thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Speak to you. No, it really is very exciting to have you here. Before we wrap up, is there a message that you want to share with the world or share with educators around the world, and kind of give a heads up as to what you'll be working on and the kind of conversations you can be having?
I really just want to tell everybody to not stop learning. It doesn't have to be, like Michael said, professional development. It can be personal development. Yes. So don't stop learning for your own personal development, and stay focused on those goals. Keep your bullseye in front of you. Just like in the classroom, if you don't give your students a bullseye of where to hit and you're just telling them what not to do, they're never going to hit that bullseye. It's the same thing for your personal development. So never stop learning. Write down your bullseye.
Awesome. Write down your bullseye. You've got to quote that. Great, Tish. Thank you so much. And to all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today. Always a pleasure to have you join us on this podcast. We will have a collection, as always, a Wakelet collection with links to Tisha's social media profiles, all the resources and topics that we spoke about today. So if you want to explore, I highly recommend you do so. But yeah, thank you very much for joining again, and we'll catch you next time.